everyone, I'm Sharanya PS. In the previous video lecture, we have already covered about array, searching and sorting techniques with respect to array, two-dimensional array with different example program. As a part of module 3, in this session, I will be discussing about strings. The topics covered here are string fundamentals, string input and output, string processing, library functions with different example programs. What is meant by a string? Strings are also called as a character arrays. As the name indicates, what is that character array? So, it is indirectly says that the strings is also an array, but it contains only the characters. That's why it is called as a character arrays. As a definition, string is a group of characters which are enclosed inside a double quotes with last character ending with a /0 or called as a null. What is that? Here, the strings, if we want to call any data as a string, then it will contain some set of characters which need to be enclosed within a double quotes. Along with the one special features in string is the last character of this set of strings need to be ended with a /0 or we call it as a null character. That is, a string is stored as an array of characters terminated by the end of string we are representing as a /0 or which is also called as a null character. As we have observed with any of the programming, first we have to, before using anything, first we have to declare. Then we have to initialize. With these two steps, we are well in prior, we are telling the compiler that this is the string or this is the variable that we are going to use in that program. And these are the values that we are going to use in that variable. So, with that same procedure, first we will see how we can declare a string variable. Here, major two aspects we have to look into. First, when we are defining the string variable, we have to mention the data type. Since it is a character array or nothing but which will contain a set of characters. For that purpose, we will be using the data type as a character. And when we declare any variable, here it is a string variable, nothing but it will contain a set of characters. Nothing but it is a kind of array. That's why we have to mention the size. What is that size? Size is nothing but how many characters we can totally store as a whole together. We call it as a string. That we are exclusively mentioning during the declaration of the string variable. When we mention the size, here one add-on features or we have to be very careful when we are mentioning the size here is since every string is ended with a /0, the size should be one more than the contents that we store in the string. That is, suppose if we want to store 3 letters or 3 characters as a one string like H, E, L. Okay. Along with that, it is nothing but 3 characters. So, size will be equivalent to 3. But we have to add one more size. In the sense, we have to specify the size 4. That fourth one size which we are mentioning is responsible for storing the null character. That is the one special features that we have to very careful when we are mentioning the string. Next, here the example if we look into the way how we are specifying the declaration of the string. The data type is mentioned, char, and next the variable name which we use or the string variable name that we are using will be specified, and then here we are mentioning the size. Here 21 is mentioned as a size. In the sense, total 20 characters can be stored in the name string. One extra size which is mentioned is responsible for storing the /0. Here a number of characters stored in the string will be always up to /0 but not including the null character. So here the length of the string will be referred as only 20. /0 will not be added to the length of the string. This is how we can declare the string. That is, first we have to mention the data type. For strings, all the time the data type will be character. That is, we are specifying as char. And then we are specifying the string name. After that, we are mentioning the size that we need to allocate for that string. And next step is initializing. That is setting some values to this string what we have declared. Here, char is the data type and first is the string name and 10 represent the size of the first string. That is total 9 characters we can store it in first string. Here after that the characters that we are storing in this string we can mention or we can initialize in 3 different ways. This initialization what we are following is called as a compile time initialization or which is pre-initialization what we refer. Here first we will be beginning with first kind of that what we refer here will begin with the table that we are representing each character with a single quotes. And if we are mentioning like this, then if we are specifying each character separately like a array kind, then we have to explicitly mention the null character at the end. Here array of characters are specified and it will assign the value to the individual position. This will be first of 0. This will be first of 1. Here also index will begin from 0 itself as we followed in arrays. And if we are mentioning like a character array, one major point here is we have to add exclusively this /0 at the end of the string. Next second type is here we have mentioned character second and the size we have specified as 10. One more method is we can directly mention the string what we want to store it in the string name by mentioning within the double quote. In this method we need not to specify /0 exclusively. It will be automatically added by the compiler by identifying it as a string. Third type is this sometimes we can omit the size of the string if we are declaring and initializing at the same time. Here the size is not mentioned during the declaration, but in the declaration type itself we are initializing the value, that is table. So here it is clear that there are total 3, 4, 5, 6 total characters. So the size will be exclusively set as 6 for this first string. So this is how we can at a time we can declare and initialize the strings. These are the 2 ways. One is we are declared here as a string. Then we can mention name equal to just like this, or we can during the declaration itself we can initialize. These are the 3 different types we can set some values to string. If you observe this, here we have used one string by the name str and the size is set as 6. and the string here assigned for str is AJIUP. So total 5 character array. It is nothing but 5 is size of the string, but we have set the size as 6 because this one last location is responsible for representing /0 or null character. This is the main feature of string. Here also the index will begin with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we want to refer to the first character, then we will mention as str of 0. And here the address of the string, what is, as we are knowing, we have discussed previously, each of the data type will have different addresses. The required memory location to store those values. The characters will take 1 byte of data, 1 byte of storage to store the data. So here A is storing in the location 0x1020. This is the 1 byte will be stored, and the next character will be stored in the next byte. Byte like this. How many number of bytes are present, that many number of bytes will be allocated for the string. So this is the total size of the string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bytes of size with respect to str string. And if we want to, suppose if we want to access I value by referring to the index, how we can do it? We have to mention the string name as str, and then we have to specify the index value, that is index will begin from 0 and 1, 2. If I want to specifically refer I, then I can mention str of 2. If we refer this, which will be responsible for the value I, character I. This is how this strings is also related to the arrays. But with one add-on feature here is each string will be ending up with /0 or null character. Why that null character? What is its importance? Here we have defined one string by initial value. By specifying this /0, we could able to process the end of the string in programs. When we are using some functions, if we are not using this, like it is very difficult with respect to string to identify the end of the string, which may contain one more word like that. So in order to identify the end of the string, we are making use of this /0. Because of this, we can write the programs which indicates the end of the current string. Next, some of the major errors that we do with respect to writing the string is, here we have mentioned str of 5. Here the space is mentioned. The space is not allowed when we are declaring or initializing the string. Next, one more major mistake here, what we do is, when we are mentioning the scanf to read the string from the user, we are not going to use ampersand or address symbol with respect to the string variable. We are not using the ampersand symbol. Only with respect to integer or character or floating point values we are using, not with respect to string variable. Next, here we have declared the string as str1, but we are using it as a control1. If we are using like this, we will get the error as control1 is ctr1 is not declared. Next, here in this particular case, we have mentioned string1 with value as 6. There are total 6 characters length might be there with respect to first string, and second string we have set in declared with only 2 size. Here the next operation what we are doing, we are trying to copy the value, or we are trying to assign string 1 to string 2. Here it will give an error because string 2 will have only 2 size, whereas the string 1 will have total 5 elements. Along with that one null character, total 6 characters will be there. So string 2 will not have enough size to store the first string. These are the some major mistakes that we do when we are writing the code. Please try to overcome these mistakes when we write the string programs. Majorly, the second point what is mentioned here with respect to scanf. With the practice, we will be trying to write ampersand when we are mentioning the string name. Next, how we can read or write the strings. Some input functions that we use to read the string or to input the strings are gets, scanf, gettchar and getch. We will look into in detail with gets or getters and scanf function. To produce a string output or to display the string as an output back to the display screen, we will be using put as, printf statement or putchar functions. In detail, we will see put as and printf functions. We have already discussed what are standard input-output function. These are all comes under that. Here, which are the functions which are specifically used for strings, we will look in detail. Here, for reading and writing the strings, for reading purpose, we will make use of majorly scanf and printf functions, and as well as getters and putters function. These two we will see it in detail. As we know, here scanf acts as a input function. Getters is also act as an input function because it is responsible for reading the input from the user, whereas printf and the putters function is responsible for displaying the output back onto output screen. That's why it is called as a output function. Here, how we can make use of scanf and printf functions with respect to string. First major one point we have to look into here is the format specifier used in string is a %yes. If we are using as an example where character S1 is declared as a string with the 20 as a size, and scanf function here it is used with mentioning S1. So whatever it is entered by the user, it will be stored in the S1. Why it is that ampersand symbol is not mentioned? Because S1 by default it will be holding the first address of the string. So as we observed previously, S1 will contain the first memory address of the S1, that is 1020, like that. If we mention 1020 will be referred with in S1. So we need not to explicitly mention the address because it is nothing but a character array. Here one more major aspect is we are not using ampersand while reading the string, and one more point here is scanf cannot able to read the strings which is having more than one word. In the sense, if we are mentioning any spaces or if we give any new line character or any tag space between the two strings, then which is not able to read by scanf function. If the string is having only one word, then it can be able to read by scanf function. If the major problem with respect to scanf is the scanf function will terminate its input functioning, that is to reading the values when it encounters a first space. If you observe as an example here how we can print the values as well as read the values by using the strings. When we are printing, we will be using the function printf, %s, and we are using the string name. And we are not mentioning any size while we are printing or while we are taking the values or inputting or outputting the values onto the screen. Only during the declaration time we will be mentioning the size. Here we are taking the string and scanf and printf. Here S1 is red. Here enter the string is given with the value hello. And with the next printf statement, we are printing this hello back onto the output screen. This is how we can make use of printf and scanf statement. Here one more example is displayed, that is with the string name as my string and the size is mentioned as 100 and the data type as a char. It is asking for the user to enter the string, and the string entered here is a hello student. But when we are seeing as an output and with the printf statement, we are trying to display that string back onto the screen. But when we are seeing the output, we could see only hello. Where is that student? That is the problem that we have encountered with respect to scanf. Scanf will not able to find any spaces. If it finds any spaces, next string or next character, whichever it is written, will not be taken as a input. That's why it has taken only hello as a input. After that, we have given a space. This will be discarded from the taking as a input. By using gets and puts function, this yes refers to which is majorly used with respect to strings. The problem what we have observed in the scanf can be overcome by using the puts or puts function, majorly by using gets function. Puts anyhow it will be used for displaying onto the screen. Here gets function reads a group of characters from the keyboard including the white space. That is, the problem that we had in the scanf is completely overcome by using the getters function. Here we can give any word with a lot of spaces or with a new line character. The syntax for how we use is getters. After that, here we are passing the string name and we are not mentioning any format specifiers. And the puts is used for displaying the multiple string onto the output screen. Here puts and puts, and here we are using the string name which we want to display onto the screen. And here also we are not using any format specifier. With getters and puts functions, the format specifier is not necessary to be mentioned. As an example now, here instead of a scanf function, here it is using the getters function. The problem previously we observed that the students was not displayed. That problem is resolved by using the getters function. Here, even if there was a space, hello after that space and student, it is taken as an input since it uses the getters function. And with respect to printf, we are trying to print the entire string which was read by getters function. This is how we can use getters and puts functions to read and display the strings. Here one more by using printf and puts function. Here we have used getters and puts directly just to work with the strings. As a summary, we have discussed different functions for reading and writing the strings. Majorly, if we refer printf and scanf, we have discussed which are printf is used for displaying the strings, scanf is used for reading the strings. But there was a problem with respect to scanf, that is space. If there is any space between the two words, which is not able to take as an input, and which is overcome by using getters and puts functions. Here as a summary, if we see few more functions, getters is a input function because it is reading the input. Scanf is also reading the input. Here blank space, if at all, if it present, it acts as a end of that input statement. If you look into the example here, yes is considered as a string name with 80 as a size, and it is using the getters function. It is reading the word and it is displaying the word back to the screen. And with the same like that, we can reading two inputs, word 1 and word 2. And here no need of mentioning the ampersand symbol. That is one major mistake that it is mentioned. Purposefully I have mentioned here the ampersand because which will encountered as a error. These should not be given. Only word 1 and word 2 can be mentioned, and which will be taking the input from the user. If we are mentioning, which will not give the output. This is one major mistake that we do when we are writing with respect to scanf, that need to be overcome. And the input function here, one more is gettchar and gettch. These are the functions which are majorly used for reading a single character. Suppose if we are reading the single character, if we are using string, then we have to run a loop to read a string or a multiple characters. Here gettch or gettchar we have mentioned. Here even if there is any key hit, without waiting for the press enter, it will be taking the single character. Next, if we are displaying this data back onto the output, or the what we call it as the output function, there is the outputs or printf functions that we have already seen with the example printf, and we are trying to display puts, we will just pass the string name. And one more, if we want to put a single character onto the output string, then we can use the function putchar, which will read. Here we have used a for loop to process with a set of characters, and we are using a putchar function where each time it will be displaying one character at a time. So in this session we have majorly discussed what is meant by a string and how we can declare and initialize the string during the runtime, and how we can first of all, what are the different functions which are available to read the data for these strings, and how it can be used. We have discussed with example. Thank you.